Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Improv Network podcast. I'm James Casey. Oh, sorry, excuse me. Let me get the intro right here. This is a series of conversations aimed at building stronger connections throughout the improv community. I'm James Quesada.
And I'm Bob Wick.
And we are your education team for the Improv Network. You can go to the improvnetwork.org to check out all sorts of great resources, such as interviews and blogs and festival listings. And you can create your own individual profile, a teacher profile, a troupe profile, a theater profile. And there's also an improv FAQ page with these videos and mini lectures on improv topics. Bob, it's our 100th episode.
100, baby! I am broadcasting from Casa de la Moody. Chris Moody is having his annual barbecue with all the improvisers from Detroit. So expect some guests because, you know,
I want to have somebody come crashing through the window behind you.
That's what I set up that shot for. And put
it on the Improv Network.
Yeah. 100
police sirens, yeah. Man, yeah. So I couldn't be more happy and honored to have done 100 episodes with you, Bob. It really is wild. Kurt throwing up the
100
fitting 100. Yeah. What's up, Kurt? Thanks as always for joining. And thanks for being a part of. I mean, we had a whole Kurt episode featuring Kurt's questions.
Every 100 episode, yeah.
And I guess, you know what I want to do real quick is just give like a little background on the show, because I think for some people that are watching through the Improv Network, it's eyebrow raising to be like, you guys are at 100 episodes, haven't you only been doing this for a few months? But the background on this show is that I had a show called Improv FAQ where I was doing little mini lecture videos on improv topics. And then at the beginning of in the spring of the pandemic last year, Bob and I were shooting the shit about improv. And we were like, you know, we could do like an improv FAQ, like at length, like longer conversation, since my videos are usually like 5 to 10 minutes long. And it's like, let's unpack some of these more. We started the conversation series about it.
Yeah. Because technically our first episode was over, what is that app called? Marco Polo. So it'd be like, here's 10 seconds of what I think about improv. Send to James. And James would be like, hey, that's pretty cool. Here's what I think about. And we're like, let's
like, do you want this FaceTime? Yeah. So one of our guests in the summer last year was Nick Armstrong, who's co-founder of the Improv Network. And it was around the time that they were doing a fundraiser to support theaters and festivals and organizations that were affected by the pandemic and theater closures and whatnot. After the show we did with him, we were talking about just how much we love the Improv Network and that we would like to do more stuff like it and maybe grow Improv FAQ into a bigger educational resource. And Nick then introduced us to Melanie Leon, the CEO of the Improv Network.
I always call her president. I know it's not her title. It feels appropriate because, you know, she does everything. She's she's amazing.
Yeah, she is, yeah. And then we slowly but surely started making plans to get it for Improv FAQ to get adopted by the Improv Network. And so now here we are, 100 episodes deep, and very thrilled to be featured on the Improv Network and part of their wonderful organization.
Absolutely. And I just want to add, like, this has been such a fun ride. And one of the things that definitely helped me get through, and a lot of people, like, we've had this from multiple guests, like, after we're done recording, like, oh man, it was so nice to have these conversations that we used to have every week, you know, just have a little taste of, the normal life, if you will. So this has been awesome. And thank you for starting this, James. Like, this has been really great.
Right back at you, Bob. Excuse me. I'm going to mute my mic and clear my throat.
All right. So
Vamp, it's I got to clear a lot. So
yeah. That's why he keeps me around, folks.
So we are very, very excited to have our guest for our 100th episode. It's a very special guest who the topic we're going to talk about is something that I picked up from her, and she has affected the way that I think about improv way more than she knows, and I've been dying to have a conversation with her, and so I'm so excited to have our very special guest with us for this episode. She's one of the goddamn best improvisers you can find. She plays and teaches all over Chicago and the world. Best buds with Susan Messing, with their duo, The Boys, who headline all over the place. And if you haven't seen them, I really hope you get a chance to, at any point before you die, put it on your bucket list. Please welcome to the show, Rachael Mason.
Yay!
Welcome,
Happy
Rachael.
100 episodio.
Thank you. I feel like we've made it now.
That's a big deal. That is a big deal.
Yeah, and we are still waiting for Kurt's $2,000 that he feels like he owes us, because each of these episodes, as he says, feels like a workshop.
Priceless.
Yeah.
Well, it's $2,000, and so if you're listening, please send.
We capped it off. The average you would pay for your 1 hour long improv workshop.
Yeah. Are you raising your hand, Rachael?
I am raising my hand.
I thought your prince was dying.
I would Queen Elizabeth. Are you kidding me? Do I have a profile still on there? And is it not 800 years old?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, we can look. Yeah. It's not going away. It's like MySpace. Yeah.
I still have like 17 MySpace pages.
Oh, yeah. I think I do too, for a couple old shows I used to do.
Yes.
Yeah, I was actually just talking to somebody about this last night, and we'll get to the improv talk eventually. But is there not a way to delete your profile, to not have like an account management and delete? Like, somebody was saying that like they tried really hard to find a way to do it, and you can't.
I think it is like you own the internet if you figure out how to delete a MySpace page.
Yeah. My profile got deleted automatically, but the pages, they're still there.
Yeah.
That's public.
I know how to get my profile banned, but I don't know how to delete it.
Thank you. I'm going to do that now. I'm going to get banned.
Smart move. Yeah. Okay, Rachael. So thanks again for joining. So I took a long form intensive. I took a long form intensive with you at Second City in Chicago, like a while back. And it was split by you and Susan, who it was so awesome to have the two of you tag team the teaching on it. And there was one day where you were teaching us some of the longer show forms like Weird Ass and the Armando. And one of the things you brought up about ensemble is the different elements that make a great ensemble. And so you introduced this concept of head, heart, and X factor, and you pointed out that it's not just an ensemble thing; it's also like something that probably every improviser should kind of like tap into in some way, shape, or form. But it's something that has resonated with me a lot. Would you mind kind of like describing, putting in your words, what the concept is?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Why is it that it resonated so hard with you? Like what?
Well, so I guess I'll just say briefly that it's the idea of like the head is like the more cerebral, analytical, game oriented. I mean, even things like wordplay and whatnot, I think would fall into that kind of mapping themes and analogies and stuff.
Yeah.
And then heart is more like physical, emotion driven and like space work and good acting. And then X Factor is like that kind of wild card spice to things. Yeah, the unexpected. And the reason it resonated with me so much is because as soon as you started describing that, what really happened to me
All
was
of a sudden you're like, oh, they're that, I'm this.
yeah, every like exercise and like short form game and elements of long form started to like trickle into these categories.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing that it actually did for me, it's not something that I always think
why
about.
you put ringers in certain games in certain forms. The best forms were created by a team to show off the skill that they have. And the best teams are put together by people like who put themselves together. Oh, I reverse engineered that. Sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, no. You are the guest for our 100th episode. You don't need to raise your hand. You interrupt and I yield. But I loved it as a teaching tool, more like above all else, because it really just helped me
tangible, right? Yeah. You can kind of envision it. Like I'm the kind of person that like math didn't make sense till geometry. And I think people like learn this way and this way and this way. So you have to like present it all the ways. And my exercises, like you said, like certain forms, like you can see like X factors would be good at this and heads would be good at this, right? You're like casting, everything changes sort of.
Yeah.
You can like see it. It's tangible.
Yeah. And I think it helped me as a coach. Shortly after that, I was coaching a house team that had a year-long run of like weekly shows. And my major goal was just to kind of like map these three things and casting a team that had those strengths in it, but also exercising people's.
Did it work?
It was great. Yeah. Yeah. And it didn't go well. And I'm looking for like, what was I doing wrong?
Don't make me.
Rachel, can you explain it? Because I've had to hear this guy talk about this for at least 5 years. Every time we were in the car or out eating, and I'm not even sure if he was explaining it correctly.
So like this is like an intricate story. So there weren't a lot of girls, and the girls who were hitting it were like riveting to me. And I was lucky. It was like Amy, Rachel, Tina, right? And everyone kept comparing me to Tina. And I was like, maybe it's because I kind of look like her. Not anymore. She has a chef and a personal trainer now. Like I started paying attention to her on stage, and I was like, she's very political and referential, topical. Like she nails the reference. And I was like, I don't exactly do that. And then I started paying attention to Amy Poehler, and I was like, she is a one-legged gorilla flinging its own shit. I don't do that either. And then I looked at Rachel Dratch, and I was like, grounded, committed character, heightening emotionally, like, because I was an actor first before I was an improviser. So I was like, here it comes, a natural doo-doo in the wild. That is something I do. So like I started sort of like pulling what they were good at and bringing it back to class with me and trying it on, because you can't really be good at what someone else is good at. You have to be good at your thing. But like seeing them like crystal clear as 3 different improvisers meant that I didn't have to hate myself for not being able to do what someone else did. And like, I didn't have to hate them for not being able to do what I did. And I didn't have to hate myself for not being able to do what they did. And I think I cobbled all of this together because I was taking classes with Del, and like with Del, you took class more than once, like you just stayed or something. And he liked me because I hated him. I was like, you're disgusting. And he'd be like, what's your name again? So Del had said like there's like the tactician and there's like the like the person who moves out of instinct. And then I forget how he described the last one. And to me, it made sense to describe them as the heart, head, and X factor. Now, they're all different kinds of ones. Like there's like pirate, poet, ninja, or something.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's Will Hines. Am I crazy?
Pirate, robot, ninja.
Yeah.
Pirate. What did I say?
Pirate, poet.
Yeah. I like
Which
pirate
still
poet.
Works, yeah.
It still works.
Pirate, poet, ninja. I think that's we'll make that a new one.
Because the pirate is the poet in the other one, I think.
I agree.
So then once I started directing and teaching, I realized like if you can't get a student to come to you, you have to go to them. So I started being like, this guy's super verbal. Let me start making him do like physical shit and silent scenes. And she is always like, get it? And I'm like, you know, you don't have to work so hard, do some object work. So I was like, in the head, there's the initiator, the editor, the game move maker, the pattern maker, the reference dropper. And then I was like, in the heart, there's the physical comedian and the character improviser who I'm not amused. Hang on. Character improviser and the emotional heightener, like the person who just like is like that actor, you know what I mean? And then in the X Factor, like I realized there were even some categories. Like there's the malicious X Factor, like that person who's like taken enough improv to be dangerous and wants to be like cutting edge and says like stupid shit, racist shit, sexist shit, like weird shit. They're trying to shit on your scene. I call it the hot shit foot, and they're trying to do it. But there are all kinds of ways to even protect that person. Then there is the unconscious X Factor who's like conscious. Which one did I do? Malicious?
Malicious, conscious.
Okay, the conscious X Factor is sort of like, things have been real quiet. Let's do something crazy, right? And then the unconscious X Factor, I sort of say, I'm like, what does everyone think that is? And everyone's like, they don't know they're fucking up your scene. And I'm like, yes, yes. But think about it, reverse engineer that. They have no idea they're fucking up your scene. One, because it isn't your scene. It's both of yours. And two, all of them, all the X Factors are genuinely contributing what they think is funny. It is just not what you would have done. So I start, yeah, exactly. So I'm like,
that's a really good point. Yeah.
And Del used to say that the best team had all three of them on it. Because like the weird guy is going to make a move that no one would have fucking thought of.
Right.
Which makes the smart guy go, ching, ching, oh, I know what to do. And the emotional guy goes, I can heighten that. So you get diversity of content, subject matter, like tone, rhythm. It becomes a very exciting pursuit. And people are like, they're the guy who's always fucking up my scene. That all of a sudden they're like, he's not fucking up my scene. Like, let me look for the opportunities for how to play with them. And there's always a guy that nobody wants to do a scene with. And when I was coming up, I was the first person to run out and do a scene with them, which I guess is why Del liked me, because I knew if I could take care of this guy, then playing with everyone else would be like a piece of cake.
Yeah.
Am I screaming at you? I feel like
I love it. No. I can
we're gonna take a 5-minute
gears
cool down.
turning in both of our heads right now. Yeah, because we like coming up, we learn, your job as improviser is to take care of your scene partner, but we never I've always assumed is, I look good making them look good rather than.
That's why we say take care of your scene partner. It's inferred that you're making yourself look good. So Del, not only did he say all three of them are on it, but the best improviser could access all three of them.
Yeah.
And like you probably fall squarely in a wheelhouse, but that's your comfort zone. And that's constructed out of fear and laziness. So if you actively try on the other one, you'll get better. So what I say to students, or what I used to say before everything went belly up, I used to say that the IO is the heart.
Right.
Standalone pieces of improvisation that will never be seen again, created by ensemble in the moment. And the second city is the head. Improv as a tool for satirical sketch comedy, right? Like that's a lot of, right? And the annoyance is the X factor, where no subject matter, no language, no topic, nothing is taboo. Although Mick will be the first one to tell you that everything has changed. And now you have to really protect your content if it's going to be outrageous so that people can laugh. Like even Mick is evolving. All of it. So Del used to say this too. Like, sure, this works, but just like Stanislavski, by the time like Stella Adler was like, Stanislavski was like, I was wrong. Stella Adler was like, no, times just changed, and acting went with it, right? So like Del used to say an improviser or a teacher who thinks they know improv is dangerous, because improv has to evolve with us and the zeitgeist. We are constantly changing. We're in a period of social upheaval. So our art is changing. Like you can't just make a show called like Manson the Musical or Poo Poo La Arse or Big Trouble at Hairy Gulch. The lesbian Western. I was in that show and won an Annoyance award.
Part of me want to ask, are these real titles? Or are you
of course they are. No, those are real titles.
I'm like, damn, you're good.
Uncle Jelly Roll's Parade of Sexy. I am good, but those are just too, like, it's funny because it's true.
Yeah.
I won a Ducky for best tits in a performance in Gulch. You could never do that now. You could never have that category in an award show.
Well, there's a male and female
even
category.
At the Annoyance. Gross. I mean, it's true. Men are like 3% of breast cancer. I feel for them.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all,
I'm sorry if that was long-winded.
No, I was just going to say, I think what you laid out there was an entire school of thought, and by my view, something that can shape the way that you approach improv for the rest of the time that you're doing it. Like, honestly,
for real. It keeps you honest. It keeps you hungry and learning, and not like that was a bad suggestion or that was a bad scene partner. It's like, so this is, I'm totally interrupting you. So like you said, Bob, like take care of your scene partner. So think of it this way. Second City says take care of your scene partner. IO says take care of the piece. And the Annoyance says take care of yourself. Because like, if you say like, my goal is to take care of my scene partner, you're sort of like glossing over the fact that you must take care of yourself first to do that. So at the Annoyance, they're like, if everyone's taking care of themselves, like, let's fucking play. Let's tango. Not sword fight or even chess, but like tango. I don't know. Did any of those metaphors make sense?
They all did. Great. But what I like about this too is if you're taking care of yourself, but also trying to help, this is forcing you to show range, which is a goal that we don't talk about enough.
So let's talk about taking care of yourself. Taking care of yourself isn't I am the blank with the blank and have a blank. And when he says blank, I'm going to blank. It is, I'm tired. So that you can listen to your scene partner. I'm going to be an asshole. I already said Adler and Strasberg. Here we go. Uta Hagen.
Oh.
Uta Hagen said character is like a light veil. Mm-hmm. And that if it's too thick, like there's no way you can see your scene partner. And that is in scripted work. So in improvised work, right? Like a very simple, like I'm tired. Like look at all the storytelling I don't have to do. And we can literally talk about anything, taxes, fucking, but it'll still be like, yeah, sure. Put it in my butt, you know? I'm just going to lay face down. Like, you know, that's tired.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's too early for this. It's too early for this. So taking care of yourself really means like one thing quickly to be like the veil that you see your scene partner through. And it like illuminates the world.
Yeah, that's, you know, I've heard the idea of where your character has a thin veil, but I had not heard the extra bit of if it's too thick, you can't see your scene partner. And I think
that's the important part.
Yeah.
It's like the definition of satire, mock, ridicule.
Yeah.
And the second part is to affect social change. And everyone forgets about that fucking part. What the fuck?
Well, wait. So where that also in the same bit of the veil? Where did the affect social change come from?
Oh, no, you were saying that like you'd never heard the second part of the veil thing.
Yeah.
The definition of satire, nobody ever hears the second part, which is to affect social change.
Yes. Yeah. I've always heard the veil thing as basically as like, well, we're not wearing like costumes and stuff, so like play kind of close to self and just like, you know, but
we stay close to self so you can like access without having to scratch too hard. Like this isn't method acting, and like even in method acting, Stanislavski was like, don't hurt yourself on stage. Character puts a buffer, and character can be something as simple as tired, right? Like I'm even talking differently because like my body, you know. And so like the whole idea behind the heart, head, and X factor is sort of like to connect the heart up and to connect the head down so that like heads who would normally stand there would make a choice, like to be tired, or like character actors who are always like, I'm a duck or whatever. And X factors would be like, oh, there's a pattern. And if I come in a third time as a duck, now it's our theme or whatever.
Yeah. I think that even another valuable side effect of just hearing the description of these three ideas is that it just helps you understand where other people are coming from. Again, just speaking for myself. That like
their reference levels, the weird shit they might say, instead of being like, man, you're like open to be like, okay, some of this I can work with.
Yeah,
you know?
Or just being, I feel like what I have felt just
some of this.
A little bit.
That other part was sexist.
But I feel like I would love to talk about the malicious and the different types of X factor like all on their own, because I think that like you know, I'm very eager to hear what you have to say, Rachel, about how to. You said you can still take care of the malicious.
Fuck yeah.
But real quick before we get there, just on the other ones too. I think I have found like I run into some friction or tension between different types of players too.
Bob.
100, baby.
Bam! I just got X factor.
I'm still at the party mode. I can't help myself.
See, it was funny. We're laughing. We're fine.
But do you find what is it? Do you have observations of people who kind of get mad at each other for playing different styles at the same time, Rachel?
Stop doing improv. I don't care if you're doing film noir while I'm doing silent comedy. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I don't know.
This is when I go back to my history. Oh, all right. Never mind. Okay, you ready?
Yes.
James and Bob.
Yes.
I'm your educatrix, and I am asking you to do a terrible scene right now. The two of you. I want you to do a fucking awful scene. Whatever you think that means. That's not a whatever. Ready? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
So, how much is this soap?
I'm not your dad.
Oh man, Mom's gonna be pissed.
I'm a duck.
How much did you say? I'll give you $5 for the soap. Well, this soap is mine.
Scene. I would beg to differ if you think that was a terrible scene. You were committed, you exited, you denied each other. You were in a relationship. He was clearly your dad, and he was fucking with you at bath time. And I picture you sitting in the bathtub holding soap, like, I'm keeping this soap. So, long story short.
When we do our animated series, we're gonna have to do that scene.
Oh, I use the worst scene ever to warm up every class I've
I
ever
love
taught.
that one.
Because like people are like, ah, like instead of like, what should my choice be? They're like, ah.
Yeah.
So this is when I remind people that this is an art form invented by women for children to be successful at. Children lack a filter of fear and judgment. Those are learned behaviors. So kids are going to play like this. Right? While adults are going to try. So I just answered your question. I didn't know how to say it, but I just answered your question. Like if you commit, like it'll be interesting. It'll get funny. That scene was good, even though I asked you to be bad. Now, I'm going to answer the other part of your question. Bob, will you help me?
Oh, yes.
Okay. You like are going to be the bad scene partner.
Okay.
You're going to do everything, whatever you can to like cock it up. And I am going to try and be like the good improviser or whatever. Okay. All scenes take place in a Starbucks. So,
of course.
Great. This mocha frap is so good, Dave.
Why is it good?
I don't know. I think it's because it's like 9 million calories.
Why are we here?
I mean, you've always been real deep, but like, I think life started on this planet as like, I don't know, like as alien.
I wish I was a clown. I wish I was a clown.
Send in the clowns. They're already here, Dave. They're already here.
Why?
Right. It's profound. I know. Where did like who are we? Oh my God. You're in your feelings. I can see it. Do you not want to go to that movie?
What movie?
The movie. The one with the explosions and the car chase scene.
Nah. We should rob a bank.
You are so moody.
Scene.
Okay, so like I didn't know how to answer it, but I know how to do it, and I think I just showed you like when one of us thinks we're doing this and the other one thinks we're doing this. How did I solve the problem of him actively trying to fuck with me?
Well, reacting. I think that you gave like you first of all, I love that you like took a moment to really like react before everything.
Why go fast when you don't know where you're going, especially if your friend is making the road curvy?
Yeah, yeah.
Pardon me, my dog.
That hurt to do. I think I broke my improv.
Sorry, I just had to let the dog out. Who? So so that's my point. Like eventually by like modeling this behavior, you know, in science, they say like frequencies will eventually sync up. Mm-hmm. You'll kind of pull your friend to you as long as you don't get pulled to them. Like, oh God, we're fucking up. And what do we do? If you're just like, why are we here?
Yeah.
Like we're going to be great. So I yes-anded. I eventually pulled I gave myself a little object work. Mm-hmm. I gave myself a little bit of a character, like a teeny bit. And then I just paused and responded, right?
Yeah. Yes. And the response
no
was
X factor. I just proved there is no X factor. It's just how you see them.
Yeah. Well, yes. And I think that the way you responded was treating everything as if it was sincere, whereas
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, why not?
As opposed to like as if it's somebody who's like trying to throw wrenches, just as if it's sincere to the world of the scene. Yeah.
The Matrix, right? He can't bend the spoon, and the kid is like, there is no spoon.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I feel like that is apropos of this discussion. There is no, the road is straight. It's not curvy.
So I guess maybe another question I have is like, I think what's really helpful is to get people on the same page about this. And I think once, like, that was my experience coaching a team on this thing, right? Is that like
you want to unite the world?
Yeah, I'd love to
in this improv endeavor.
And across America too. It's gonna happen.
Well, there are some countries where they're like, we don't care if it's funny or not. They'll go for the sincere. They'll go for the what do you call it? Linear. Like improv is different everywhere, and it makes sense because of where it is. Like improv up in the like Norway, that peninsula, Norway, Sweden, Finland.
Yeah.
Like they don't care if their improv skews dramatic, which I think is so hot.
Yeah.
And in where were we? Where their improv was linear narrative storytelling. Like it was all like beginning, middle, and end storytelling. I can't remember where we were. Me and Susan travel a lot.
But this was somewhere international?
Mm-hmm. Maybe it was Ireland. I forget.
Yeah. Well, so and with us, like, so there's styles that are like, okay, this is going to be narrative or story based, and what do you have advice for people who like, okay, I hear these 3 different things, and like I feel like I can play with any of them and access any of them in myself, but I really want to lean into, a particular style that's like, like, how do you coach people to let go of the frustration of things that are out of their control that kind of like derail whatever style you're like really want to get more.
That's a teacher's whole job, is getting them to feel comfortable being uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Like I always say, the only difference between a novice and an experienced improviser is like neither one of us knows what's going to happen next. I just don't fucking care. Like I can't wait to see. And as opposed to like what's going to happen next, to like, yeah, what's going to happen next? Like it's like you have to flip that switch in a student to get them to be able to receive. So like if a student has deficiencies, let's say, and I don't even like that word, or like lacks an improv skill set, you pair them with the improviser that has that skill set. And then they'll start to like, and you tell them even to mirror each other. Yeah. If you have a student who's afraid to edit, tell them to run when the editor runs, so that they build up that like literal physical like sense of timing, right? Physical intelligence. Like everyone forgets that like acting is important to our art form. And there's lots of craft attached to that art. Oh, I'm yelling again.
No, people need to know 100 episodes. Listen.
Right. So like you pair them with somebody who has the skill set. You actively drill the skill set that they need without telling them, because you don't want to out anybody. But sometimes after an exercise, I might be like, was that hard? It's because it was something that you are like afraid to do. But I just proved you can do it. Mm-hmm. So your comfort zone is wholly constructed of fear and laziness. I'm very supportive. Really but I'm standing like this. You can do it, and like the reason why I said the 3 theaters were the different things is so that if somebody was like really lacking in a skill set, I'd be like, go to the Annoyance and develop your point of view. They'll let you do anything there. Go to the IO and learn how to fit in on a team and follow the pattern after a suggestion is given. You want to write sketch? Go to Second City. So you send them to the place, or you actively make them work that muscle in front of you without like letting them know. Like you got to trick them into it so they know they are already capable of it. I don't know how to say that better.
No, I think you obviously you hit the mark. Do you have any opinions? I was on one of those teacher Facebook groups for improv instructors. And there was a big discussion whether or not we should say, how did that feel after an exercise?
I don't want to know how anyone feels. Fuck you. How did that feel? Fuck you.
Because I'm guilty of it. I want to like. It
tell you
really
how
made
it
me
went.
think like I'm so. Oh, it's my go-to. Like how did
How
just
did
to get
that feel?
this.
You can't ask that because they'll be like, good, fine, fuck you, let's move on.
Yeah.
You have to be like, did you feel how character helped your dialogue? You can't ask that question. That question is a non-question. And also, I don't care about their feelings. I mean, I do. I want to protect them as students, but I care about their thoughts on our art form.
Right.
Yeah, that's interesting. I suppose I would. I get what you're saying about it kind of being an empty question.
Yeah.
But I think that there also can be people who benefit from answering it sincerely, and also that like a lot of the time
you have to leave room for that made me feel uncomfortable. If you don't leave room for that, then you have no business teaching.
Yeah. Well, yes, and I'm also I think that and like because I'm trying to like understand people better from the inside, like what their perception of things are. So sometimes when I ask like, how did you feel about a show or a scene, is that I'm trying to like access someone else's perception a little bit better so I can speak in their terms or kind of like help them with whatever they're struggling with based on
semantically. Everything you said bothered me. Like, I don't want you inside my brain figuring me out. I want you collecting patterns in my work and presenting them to me. Right? Like you constantly play low status. Tonight I challenge you to X. How do they feel? I feel like I blew my show. Don't be like, hey, next show, you are only going to play high status. And then everybody wins.
I think the go-to when I ask that question is because I noticed someone dropped their veil and made a face. You know, like because they were uncomfortable. Most of the time it's because they're uncomfortable because they've gone to a place that's not in their comfort zone, not content wise, but just like I'm not a physical performer, and now I have to do jumping jacks, and I don't like that because I feel silly.
I'm usually like, I'm not wearing the right bra for this. How dare you, sir? It's going to be funny for a different reason when I do jumping jacks.
Yeah, that is such a. So you go ahead.
I address crunch right away. Yep. You create a space where people can express themselves, and it's only I feel, not you did. You have you can only get students to express through. I would trying to get into my students' brains, like how they perceive things like that. Like, I don't want to know what's going on in their crazy brain.
That's so much healthier.
It's so much healthier because we're all fucked up.
Right.
Yeah.
We are all fucked up. People who are seeking anonymous validation from people in the dark while we dare to go without a script. Like, we are weird people. So, but we're a weird group of people that put itself together, which is why in the improv community, we need each other for scenes and we take care of each other. We're not like sword fighting or teams, you are still friends with somebody who is on your first team. Yeah. Teams are teams. I toured in a van with people for 5 years. We let our children babysit each other. We take care of each other. But the learned behaviors of fear and judgment, oh no, I did something my character wouldn't do. And as a director, I create a persona that allows me to say things like, you are making up your character as you go along. How can you be messing that up? An audience has never yelled, your character would never do that.
But I wish they would, just one time. I want to get it one time.
Your audience goes, holy shit, they are brave for making it up.
Yeah.
That's what they do. They're they are doing the thing I fear most. Oh shit, and now they're singing? And oh shit, now they called back to the opening scene? That's all the audience wants. They don't want to see our effort. TJ says this, or Dave. Effort is ugly. The audience doesn't want to see how hard you're working. They want to see your flawless joy. And Craig Euler says, why would you telegraph that your make-believe isn't going well?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I love being like, Euler, what you doing? Going to help people make pretend.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, it is that simple. This was invented for children who play. They
Yeah.
don't worry about how they look or appear. They're so in tuned. They want to play a game with each other. Find the game of the scene. Doesn't mean like it appears because we do X, Y, and Z. It means you and I have connected on a level. And especially if we're three different kinds of improvisers, us connecting is a miracle. And why our audience gives standing ovations to TJ and Dave and Mason and Messing all the time.
Yeah.
I'm yelling again.
We're taking another water break. Look, if we do this right, this can be our last episode. We can end it here at 100 if we do it correctly.
Can I get us all canceled? I'm sorry.
Oh no. I mean, we can teach everything there is to teach about improv, and we won't have anything more that we need to give.
How to become a better improviser in 100 episodes. That's the name of this podcast.
Uh-huh. Excellent work, gentlemen. Excellent work.
We came up with one goal during the pandemic. This was it. So thank you for helping.
That does set up
on you.
I think the X factor is has particular importance to me because there's a sort of magic element to it that's and
putting art where there was none before is magical. Mm-hmm. And if the weird guy is like going first, like let us celebrate that magic. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm right with you, and I think that like somebody said earlier too about like having your wheelhouse end up being a crutch or a sign of like sort of laziness is like I feel like the heart and head side of things can be things that you can get really good at. So much that you can get too comfortable with it, right?
Is that like you build up the muscle.
Whereas X Factor is something that is always about
holy magical,
the subjective, whatever is surprising and magical to you right now.
Yes,
which is always changing.
You know what would be fun? Or like I'm gonna be a beaver. Like whatever. Like I love that guy.
Yeah.
The guy who's the beaver in the boardroom meeting. Like, hold on, I want to hear what the beaver thinks.
And we had a question from our buddy Kurt again. That is,
can you be malicious? No.
Can you be malicious while still being constructive, or is it just to be avoided?
Well, I will say it is a learning moment for anyone who has to deal with them. Those happen way more in classroom situations because of a level of artistry than they would ever happen on stage.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I think that like the difference between a malicious X factor and the other two tends to be
their white male privilege.
Honestly, let's be honest.
I always tell people who are funny at work. People, the funny at work.
Oh, guy. It's so rude because I was the funniest one at work.
But there's like an earnestness to connect, right? Like, and I feel like that's what's missing from malicious X factors is that
they don't want to connect. You can still make them look good, like I proved with Bob, but they're not trying to connect.
Yeah.
So one person ends up looking fan-fucking-tastic because they took care of their friend. Like I was able to do for Bob, even though I asked him to fuck with me.
Yeah. So obviously an answer to dealing with someone like that is that like a coach and a teacher or director should have the station to, address it or fix it. But
you should have smelled that a while ago.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And been able to harness that power for good.
Yeah. But I think
it's literally as simple as being like, hey dude, no walk-ons this show.
Right. Yeah.
I'm giving that note. That's
no walk-ons tonight. Leave first beats alone.
But it's my favorite move. I do it every scene.
Meanwhile, in Brazil, what? We don't even know their names yet.
I think it's still something that we get a lot of questions about, or people are always asking like, but it's it's not something
But
that it's like when you're
yes,
in the middle of it.
Like even yes, but is already you're in the wrong place. Yes,
Yeah.
and I must. I'm sorry, I'm yelling.
Please do. The louder you are, the more that will take you seriously.
Yeah.
I'm a woman in comedy.
Yes.
But
thank you for reminding me I'm a woman.
Yeah, hit a particular decibel point before.
Let me do some jumping jacks and yell about it. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, like
the no butters need to understand that there are no mistakes in improv. There are more productive moves, but there are no mistakes in improv because we are making it up.
Yeah.
The rules make us more productive. And I don't know what movie I'm quoting, but they're really more like guidelines. They're not rules. I'm quoting something and I can't remember what it is. But and as Del used to say, like, you learn the rules to break them, and not break them to fuck with people, but to serve the piece, not your own agenda, not this would be funny if. Del said the whole reason we took one suggestion and did a half-hour long piece is so that the audience would learn a truth about the suggestion, and we would learn a truth about each other in the pursuit of that. Like, that's so much bigger than like, I was the funniest one in my shitty Harold that didn't get to its third beat.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So it's the, wanting to connect with each other and connect with the work that you're doing in a different way than selfishly just serving the funny bone.
Yeah. That's for short form. Where are you doing long form? Go do short form where it's direct, immediate use of the suggestion, steep angle in. Long form scenic improv is a much more deconstructive, leisurely. I'm going to use their suggestion, but I'm going to use it backwards. You know, like scenic improv is meant to like explore and heighten, not invent and justify. That's short form.
You're gonna give me every time with
Is this only audio? Like, does anyone even know I'm doing this with
No,
my
it's for me. It's just for me.
Oh, God.
I'm gonna watch this again and take a shot every time you do that.
Please
well,
check
I guess
out
I'm
our
not driving home from Moody's.
Make sure you look at the video stream of this for the most crafty finger wagging that you've ever seen in your life.
One of my favorite bits in all of history is Mr. Burns counting, going 21, 22, 23, skidoo. Like he makes it. I don't know why. It's one of my favorite. I think about it all the time.
So let's talk about these other two X factors.
Okay.
Especially the conscious one, because again, I think it's a little bit more straightforward. The unconscious is like, okay, this is somebody who just kind of approaches things differently. But like, how do you apply the conscious X factor if you're somebody that doesn't, that's more, whose wheelhouse is more like the other head and heart?
The conscious X factor is still making real bizarre moves. Like they're coming at an angle we wouldn't thought of, but it is like the example I used is everything's been real quiet. We need to do something loud.
Yeah.
Right. Like they're stirring it up, but it's because like the piece needs it.
Right.
Yeah. And is that something that like, I don't know. Is it something that you have to get people comfortable to kind of take the leap on? Like how do you get people to make it still feel spontaneous, even if you're sitting on the back line being like, I'm going to mix it up next round. It's still, I think.
No, they don't do that. They have all X factors have the idea and go. They don't sit there waiting to edit. They go.
Gotcha. Okay, so you don't think about like I sometimes think about the idea of conscious X factor as somebody maybe who is more naturally like a head thinker, being like, okay, I can kind of have the overhead view of the show, and then being like, you know what, I'm just gonna.
James, you are clearly ahead, is what I would like to say. You are definitely a head player.
Yeah.
See how hot that is? It's hot.
How hot what is?
how hot that is to be like now when I play with you, I'll be able to sit there and we'll be able to we'll be able to use the dance floor when we tango.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but I guess that is it's just as somebody who I am definitely very cerebral. But I do also love the, surreal and absurd and spontaneous. But sometimes when I'm doing it consciously, I think about it sort of through a head filter where I'm like, this needs something. And I won't, like you said, it's not so much of like, this is my deal and this is my character.
James,
I'm tired.
You are allowed to think, but you are not allowed to think about thinking.
Right.
So what was that fucking movie about my life? Basically, the improv movie that Keegan is in, and the girl
Don't Think Twice.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know how the UCB thing is don't think.
Mm-hmm.
It is actually don't think twice, because what they mean is make your choice and then never think about it again. Proceed. Yeah. So when you're I'm filtering it through you're already a step removed, you know what I mean?
Right.
And
well, I'm not really doing that I'm not doing that layer of it on the back line. I'm doing it now in conversation, but I don't know. I guess I'm just wondering, would you sooner coach somebody to be like, don't worry about it. If you know you have an X factor on the team, you just relax and do you. The X factor will come on its own terms, or you know what I mean? Or
there's different things.
Yeah.
Like I said, the best teams put themselves together, and the best forums are created by those teams to show off their particular skill set, love of subject matter, similar style of play, whatever. Bob,
I can't help myself.
Oh my
100 episodes. I do that 3 times an episode.
You should not have had coffee and Xanax for breakfast.
We have 3 minutes left. Have 3
minutes left. All right. So
that's what the people want.
What was I doing before I so rudely interrupted myself?
You were
yelling at you about something.
About I asked about should a player who is predominantly head style lead it to the X factor?
If it's a team that got put together by the Herald Commission, you have to address it away from them, because you don't want to see that person, or you have to treat them like anyone else, but give them specific notes that they can execute. If it's a team that put itself together, they don't care. They love it. That's why that person is on that team.
Right.
Oh, gotcha.
And they know how to use that person's weirdness.
Yeah. So I suppose another way of asking it is do you think that people should just lean into what their strength is, or do you think it should be more also, tap into the stuff that you're not used to keep out, keep yourself.
I think in rehearsal, you challenge yourself to do things to fail, so that it is less likely you will fail on stage. The more you fail in rehearsal and in the room, the better and more productive risks you will take on stage. Yeah. So I think that to sort of answer your question, the better you get, this is TJ or Dave, I can't remember, when you get better, your bar for sucking doesn't stay down here. It comes with you. So when even the best person, when they suck, it's still pretty fucking good.
Yes.
So the concept of mistake goes away, or tough to play with goes away, and I'm wandering now. The herd thins itself. People are this is fun and helped me, I'm done. Or the people are I want to do this forever. Oh God, I know I was meandering back to your question. Can you just put the fine point on it?
It's how much should you started with the more that you challenge yourself to things that might fail in rehearsal.
If you only play the way you play like that, you're going to get better at the way you play. And you need to know when you can bust out your tools and your ammo. But I also think you don't want to ever be in one of those situations where you're telegraphing to the audience that you're not ready for this. So in rehearsal, we work as much as we can right? Like people are like, how do you rehearse improv? It's like, so we can feel balls. We never know like the speed or direction it's going to bounce. So like, that's what rehearsal is for. I think I answered your question.
Yeah, definitely. I think that, I love, again, what I really fell in love with about the idea of Heart, Head, and X Factor is it mostly as a teaching tool, and a rehearsal tool. So I think that is exactly what I was asking is like, okay, well, yeah, you go when you're on stage, let go of whether you're tending to those things so much and just play. And then when you go back to
because
rehearsal,
it's the piece, right? It's the piece. I'm sorry, keep going. And when you're in rehearsal,
you have a different focus on stage.
Yeah,
I think that where people get like kind of eye rolling about like rehearsals is that like, well, what are we gonna do, a show that no one's gonna see? And it's like, well, your focus really shouldn't be the show in a rehearsal. Your focus should be like, are you challenging yourself, and are you aiming at a particular goal, you know, that you can.
That's my third.
3. But yeah, and then
100, baby.
Bob, 100.
Yeah. Thank you. That's why James keeps me on the payroll. Because I bring it.
I'm a disgusting human being.
You are a spectacular human being. And really, I mean, I think that is a great place to leave it. And
you are very wonderful people for saying that and for having me. Happy 100.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and I hope
on. Yeah.
I'm glad I got a chance to give you some insight on just how much a single workshop with you has rippled throughout,
I love it. I love it. Let's secretly take over the world.
Yeah. So I hope that lots of people get the same benefit from this episode, because there really was so many great gems in there. So thanks so much for sharing, Rachel.
You're welcome.
All right. And before we leave, we'll just say thanks so much for 100 episodes to everybody who's watched and joined. And please go to theimprovnetwork.org. Remember that we are a live stream every Sunday at 1:00 and Eastern, and we are also a podcast. So if you can't always catch the stream and you want to take us in your earbuds, you can find us anywhere podcasts are found. Whew, okay.
Ew. I don't want to go in your ear, but I don't want to know your thoughts, feelings, or inner ear.
Hey, if you want to
let us know how you felt about this one. Thanks so much. We'll catch you next time on the Improv Network podcast. Bye.
Bye.